A very good evening to you. I'm Edward Salt. Welcome to the programme. We begin tonight with an issue which is a necessity for many and a problem which is only going to get more challenging: caring for loved ones, in particular those who are unpaid carers. Now, there are almost 6 million unpaid carers 4 years ago. That's according to the latest census. That's about 1 in every 11 people in this country. But what would that caring cost if it was paid for? Well, that was recently estimated at £184 billion a year. And to put that into perspective, the entire budget for the NHS in the UK last year was just a little more than that figure, as you can see. One man who knows only too well what caring means is Steve Duckett. His wife has Huntington's disease, an inherited genetic illness which leads to the progressive deterioration of behaviour, thinking and movement. There's currently no cure, and around 1 in 10,000 people are living with it. Steve, who's from Corfmullen in Dorset, gave up his job to care for his wife Sandy 10 years ago. Tonight, Steve's calling for more awareness of the condition and the role family members play in providing care. He's been speaking to Bryony Leyland about the impact of the disease on their lives.
Teenage sweethearts Steve and Sandy Duckett married in the early 1970s. They knew Sandy's mother had died from Huntington's disease, but with no genetic test available back then, they carried on with their lives, starting a family.
Sandy was a brilliant mum, stay-at-home mum for quite a few years. She enjoyed life, she loved it. When you're young, you kind of often feel invincible, don't you? You don't really worry too much about what the future may hold.
Here we go, girl.
Now aged 72,
Up we go.
Sandy needs round-the-clock care. It's more than 20 years since she developed symptoms of Huntington's disease. The genetic, inherited condition has progressively affected her mentally and physically.
There's the behaviour element, so people get quite strong mood changes, sometimes quite violent mood changes. Then you've got a cognitive element where they begin to lose the capacity to kind of reason and make proper decisions. And then the third element of that is around mobility. So she's bedbound or wheelchair or in a special chair. I've never heard her say, "Why me?" And she still maintains that real stoic approach to it.
Are you okay, Sandy? Good.
10 years ago, Steve gave up his job in local government to care for Sandy full-time.
What do you think of this then?
Now her physical needs have greatly increased. They get a care package with daily carers. Steve says the expert help is hugely appreciated, but being a carer still dominates his life.
We get about 70 hours care put in, and then the rest of the week is down to me, so I do all the nighttime care still. And I bear the responsibility of looking after her. You're never really sort of switched off. I'm the one that knows her really well, watches the signs.
Steve wants to see unpaid carers better recognised. He's working to raise awareness of the role they play.
It does become a bit of a burden, and it's why I've said to other people, you really need to look after yourself. You kind of get used to coming second, but it's really important then that you get the support, because without unpaid carers, life would be extremely difficult out there. We contribute, the last figure I heard was about £184 billion a year to the health and social care economy, so which is equivalent to another NHS. We're really valuable, which is why I think it's really important that carers get the kind of recognition.
Steve and Sandy's children had a 50% chance of inheriting Huntington's, but both have tested negative. Steve looks to his future with Sandy with acceptance, knowing that like so many couples in their situation, illness has altered their relationship forever.
That change from husband to carer is subtle, is essential. I don't have much of a choice in doing that. I've lost a lot. I've grieved, and I haven't realised I've grieved, and that explains why I sometimes feel a little bit sad.
Is it love for Sandy that keeps you going?
Absolutely. She still tells me she loves me on a regular basis, and she appreciates what I do, and that's when you think about how little we can get out of her, and that's the thing that she actually comes with, and that really makes me a bit tearful.
Steve Duckett ending that report from Bryony Leyland, and thanks to Steve and Sandy for letting us into their home. Well, we approached the government for comment about unpaid carers, and this is what they told us. To ensure families get the support they need, we have increased the carers allowance earnings limit by around an extra £2,000 a year, the biggest rise, they say, since it was introduced in 1976. They go on to add that Baroness Casey's independent commission into adult social care, which started in April, will explore the needs of unpaid carers who provide vital care and support. Well, a little earlier I spoke to Helen Walker, who's from the charity Carers UK, and I began by asking how unusual Steve's story was.
Well, unfortunately, it's not that unusual in terms of the number of people who are caring for a relative. Obviously, Huntington's is less usual. It's a very complex illness, but there are 5.8 million people caring in this country. So, unfortunately, it's a very familiar story.
And sometimes those people don't realise that they are carers.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it takes on average 2 years to recognise yourself as a carer. And that's 2 years where you're not getting the help and support that you're entitled to, be that financial, emotional or practical support. So it's really important that we raise the profile of unpaid carers and people feel comfortable talking about it and recognising that they're not just a husband or a wife or a daughter or a son, but they're also an unpaid carer. And then they can get the help that they need.
Now, the estimated cost of unpaid caring in this country is £184 billion a year, staggering figure. No government is ever going to cover that cost, though. So this figure is just going to grow and grow and grow, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. I mean, that 184 billion is the equivalent to a second NHS. So in essence, what unpaid carers are doing is propping up our health and social care services. And we know that they both have challenges and they both have problems. So what we need is investment in both of those to help and support our unpaid carers, because we know that we have an ageing population. We know that people are living longer with more complex illnesses. So as you quite rightly say, this is only going to get greater. 2 in 3 of us will care in our lifetime. So we need to prepare people for care. We need to be comfortable about talking about it and recognising it and giving them the support that they need and deserve.
And you lead me on to my next question, Helen. For people watching this tonight who might be struggling, who are in this situation, what can they do? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, there's a lot of support out there. So there will be a local carers centre in your area. You're entitled to a carers assessment from your local authority, so you can get help and support there. Talk to your local GP, register at your local GP as the carer for the person that you look after. You'll then be entitled to not only talk about their health and well-being, but also your own. You'll be entitled to things like a free flu jab. But perhaps people will then say to you, are you okay? Is there any help and support that we can give you? And then on a more broader piece, you can go to the carersuk.org website or call our advice line or email our advice line. And there's a wealth of information there about it. The key, though, of course, is recognising that you're a carer in order to seek out that support.
Yeah, that's the thing. Really great advice, Helen. Thank you very much indeed. Helen Walker from Carers UK.